This week's special guest.
Back to the point, a shot blocked. Another shot, Redden blocked. Another chance. Game over. Game over. Bless you, boys. What a game.
Joe Bowen, the incredible voice of the Toronto Maple Leafs since 1982. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up. Welcome to the program. We're very excited about this week's exciting guest. He is a native of Sudbury, played for the Copper Cliff Reds, graduate of University of Windsor, former play-by-play voice for the Sudbury Wolves, former play-by-play voice for the Nova Scotia Voyageurs, former play-by-play voice for the Toronto Rock, and the current play-by-play voice for the Toronto Maple Leafs since 1982. Ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Joe Bowen. Bonesy, great to have you here.
Yes, and you got the right music playing there too, Joey. Huge fan of the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. So, thank you for having me on. I'm looking forward to chatting with you. We don't see each other as often as we should, Joey, that's for sure.
I know times they are changing, Joe, but that's the way of the world, isn't it? But listen, I want to talk. We like to begin at the beginning, and I want to talk about that Copper Cliff Junior team. You guys won the Northern Ontario Championship. What sticks out for you from that experience with Copper Cliff Juniors?
Well, we had a great team, a bunch of really good kids that were out from Coppercliff. I got to play for them because my dad was a member of the Coppercliff Athletic Association, although I lived in Sudbury, so I wasn't in their jurisdiction. But I played all of my minor hockey in Coppercliff, and I got a waiver of some sort that allowed me to play for the midget team, and it was really special. And we had a number of great players. Warren Anderson, who played for Tom Watt at the University of Toronto and also played a little bit of international hockey. Ivan McFarlane, who was another really, really good player, and a very good friend of mine, Ted Scarf. And I don't know if you know this name, but he was very big in the real estate area down in Kitchener, played in the World Hockey Association a little bit, but Ted Scarf has been on and off on a number of occasions the president of the Kitchener Rangers Hockey Association, which is, of course, a community-owned team down in Kitchener as far as the Ontario Hockey League is concerned. And a dear friend of mine, and just a really tremendous individual that has done a lot for the community of Kitchener-Waterloo.
Well, you know what? Hockey does allow us to make those lifelong friendships, doesn't it? And it's an amazing thing. I just remember you were a good goaltender. I remember playing some media games.
Joey, first off, if we're going to be shoveling manure here, there is really no need. There is no need to get into this because too many people are going to say, that guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
No, well, I'm going by what I know, Joe. And I remember playing those media games years ago. And I remember I used to spend a lot of time in front of the net. I never spent any time in front of my net. I never was introduced to my goaltender. But I used to hang around a lot in front of you when we were playing against you. And you stole me so many times. I mean, I got so frustrated. You were quick. It was a lot of fun.
I should have played you more often then. I'll tell you what, Joey, I still play, and I enjoy playing goal. My knees and hips have kind of held out. But on Tuesday, I'm just bending over to tie a strap on one of my pads, and my back seized up, and I'm down nose first in the dressing room. I can't move. The guys are concerned. They think they're going to have to phone an ambulance. They get some ice packs on me. In fact, I've got one on my back right now doing this show, trying to get my back spasms to kind of quiet down. And I haven't had a bout of this in 24 years. So maybe someone's telling me that, why don't you just play golf and not worry about this?
It can't be that we're getting old, Joe, can it? Can't be that,
No, no,
can
no, no, no. I didn't say that, Joe. I didn't say that.
it? Okay, who was your okay, how did you get into broadcasting, and who was your impetus? Who was the guy that you listened to or watched and thought,
Well,
I want to be like that guy?
well, growing up in Sudbury, we got the split from CBC. One week we got the Leaf games, the next week we got the Montreal Canadian games, and of course, listening to Foster and Bill, I was a Leaf fan. My dad was a Leaf fan, and then on would come this guy Danny Gallivan, and we hated his guts because, after all, it was the Montreal Canadiens. And I got to meet Danny later. Actually, the first time was when I was in Nova Scotia doing the Voyageurs, and he was at a sports celebrity dinner. You couldn't have met a finer gentleman and a nicer man. And when I decided to get into this industry, you listen to him and realize, you know what, that's the best. And he still is. And everyone who has followed suit is down the list. And I know I'm way down the list when you compare us to Danny Gallivan. But there were a lot of great broadcasters. Lloyd Pettit in Chicago did the game completely different. I loved Ray Scott and his very quiet and unassuming way. First and 10 at the Green Bay 15. And so you try to incorporate, I suppose, some of them. But as you know, Joey, you got to be you. You got to develop your own style. And if you try to imitate someone or copy someone, then that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a really poor imitation. And so anytime I talk to kids about doing this, I said, do you have a personality? Do you like humor? Do you laugh? Do you have other things that go? Well, then you know what? You've got to incorporate that into what you're doing. And a dear friend of mine that I worked with in Sudbury doing morning radio by the name of Mike Cranston was also a great mentor. And he just simply said, don't be afraid of the microphone and don't be afraid of being you. And I think that's pretty good advice.
Oh yeah, we learned so many valuable lessons on the way up. I'm actually, I remember Pat Marsden when he hired me. And one of the things he said is, "Remember, Joe." He called me Swish. Remember, Swish. You meet the same people on the way up as you do on the way down. A
Mars,
very
Mars, was,
important lesson.
Mars was very special. I ran into him a
Yeah.
few times at beverage houses every once in a while.
Oh yeah. Every once in a while, yeah. I think that's why we got along so well. We used to party pretty good together. So, what did you always know, like from day one, Joe Bowen is going to be a play-by-play guy? Is that that was
No,
always going to be
no,
your thing?
you already alluded to how good I was at playing goal. I was going to replace John Bauer. That was it. There were only 6 jobs really because each team had one goalie that played all the time. And I was going to replace John Bauer. And then in high school, I had a rather bad outing, and a poison pen member of the Fifth Estate carved me a new behind in the newspaper, which just destroyed me. And I thought, well, maybe I won't be going that route. And wouldn't it be nice maybe to stay in the mix? And so that's sort of when I started thinking about getting into the broadcasting thing, and I did. I went to the University of Windsor. My dad had passed away just before I went into high school, and his dream or request, if nothing else, in his legacy was that I get a university education. So that glorified high school called Ryerson was not going to be part of my upbringing. So we went to the University of Windsor in order to get a communication arts degree, and I went down there and did a lot of the student radio station. Their program down there, the basketball team under Dr. Paul Thomas was outstanding and went to the national finals 2 of the 3 years that I was down there. So I got to do those games and travel a little bit and get the ridiculous amount of $25 a game.
You got paid? Was it CJ and?
Yeah, it was in the era where there weren't interns, where they do all the work and don't get paid. When you did a job back then, you did get paid. Not a hell of a lot, but you got some dough.
Well, how many guys? I mean, my first gig was campus radio. How many guys started out at campus radio? That's kind of everybody starts out, I think, at campus radio at some time or another.
But it's a great opportunity to make mistakes, to be your own worst critic. What can I do to improve? And so we did a lot of basketball, but we did a few hockey games, not a lot, but and football as well. So when I came home, the biggest break I got, Joey, really was that my dad's best friend was a gentleman by the name of Bill Plant, and he owned. He was big in the lumber business and whatnot, but he owned the first privately owned television station in Canada, which was CKSO TV in Sudbury. And they also had a radio station. And because of my dad's friendship with Bill, I was able to go back there and actually work in the industry during the summer, and got the real wake up call that, you know what, this project that I'm working at university that they're giving me like 3 weeks to do, you have a half hour when it's in real life to get this thing done and get it on the damn air. So it was a wake up call to that, but it also gave me an opportunity when I went home. Mr. Plant hired me to be in the promotion department. And I did. I volunteered then while moving around in the building to help out in sports. And Bill Catalano, who was doing the Sudbury Wolves games, ended up moving to CBC Radio. And I walked down the hall and I said, Mr. Plant, I think I can do this. I'd like to audition. He said, no, I've heard you. You start doing the Sudbury Wolves games. And he was part owner of the Sudbury Wolves, which helped too. So if I have a break, I really have to thank Mr. Plant for that.
That's a fabulous story. And then from there, you went on to Nova Scotia. But tell me about that minor league experience and how important that was for you to, to get to the big leagues and to mold your career the way it's unfolded.
And Joey, maybe because times have changed and everything else, it's one of my pet peeves. We seem to just hand people jobs now for various reasons or whatever. People aren't forced, if that's the word, or required to learn their trade right in the bus. I mean, I rode the bus for 7 years with the Sudbury Wolves and 3 years in the American Hockey League before I even got a chance to do National Hockey League games. And I'm glad that's the way we had to do it. I scratch my head sometimes and think, wow, we're really for getting people into positions sometimes that I don't think that they're quite ready for, but it's very much fast track now that wasn't back then. But it was a great time. You got to meet some wonderful people in the hockey community, and it was something that I'll never forget, that's for sure.
Well, everybody used to say to me, you got to pay your dues. I'd ask anybody, any sportscaster, I'd call them up and say, what do I need to do to get it? You got to pay your dues, got to pay your dues. So, it's Red Deer and the Lethbridge, and we pay our dues the way we got to pay our dues.
Got to see a lot of Canada, didn't we?
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. But it's truly Canadiana for sure. You got to start in those, well, back then you had to start in those places. And, now it's a lot of those places don't even exist. It's wow, it's crazy. But so how did you land the gig with the Leafs? How did that come about?
Well, that's kind of a funny story, and I'll have to clean it up a little bit for you. Alan Davis, who later became the head of Telemedia Sports and was the first program director of the first all sports radio station in Canada, which was The Fan. But before that, he was working with me in Halifax. A young lady that he ended up marrying had moved to Toronto, and so Alan was chasing her skirt, and off he went to Toronto and started working at CKFH, which was Foster Hewitt's old station, which was the Telemedia station as well. And Ron Hewitt, who was doing the radio games, no relation to Foster Bill, spelled his name differently, decided he was going to go into sales, which was probably a brilliant move because he made a hell of a lot more money than we did doing broadcasting. Yeah. But Alan sent me a note, said that they're looking for somebody to do the Leaf games, send your resume and tape in. And I had sent them around to all of the various teams. I still have a scrapbook with some very nice letters from general managers, including one from Cliff Fletcher of the Atlanta Flames, telling me that they'll keep my stuff on file. But I sent it in, and then I didn't hear anything after the season, and I went out and bought a house in Halifax because we loved it out there. That was on 22 points on the dollar at that point. Never mind what interest rates are now, Mr. Tilley. 22 points on the dollar. I own a house in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, and on Wednesday, my bank manager calls me and tells me everything's ready to go. We can close. Everything's right ready to be signed. Thursday morning, I come back from doing the morning radio show with my friend Mike Cranston, and the phone rings. And it's, hi, this is Len Bramson, president of Telemedia Sports. We've been listening to your audition tape. We would like you to fly in this weekend and do the exhibition game with the Leafs and the Oilers as an opportunity to get the job here in Toronto. I thought it was Alan Davis. And I went on about U.S. I just got a house here, Alan. I don't need all of this you fooling around. And then there's this dull quiet, and then Len says, "No, this isn't Alan Davis. This is Len Bramson, and I'm offering you an opportunity here." I'm like Ralph Cramden. Now I'm apologizing as fast as I can, and if I'd had a knife, I'd have probably slit my wrist because you've just blown the big opportunity that you have. So we had a bit of a chuckle, and he said, "All right, I'm going to phone you back in 10 minutes when we get the flight organized." And I hung up the phone, and I just thought, my God, you've blown it. This is your one chance, and you've blown it. And 5 minutes later, Len calls me back and says, "Joe, that was the most unique conversation I've ever had with anyone who I was offering a job to. We've listened to your tape again. We don't need the audition. You have the job. Fly in and sign the contract." And so I'm living proof that you can tell your prospective boss to go fly a kite and still get the job, Joe. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing it a lot, but this one worked.
You know, you're lucky to get away with it. But hey, listen, we had Sean Thornton on the show a while back, and Sean did the same kind of thing. When Bill Waters called him to tell him he'd be drafted, because Sean was like not expecting to get drafted. I mean, you know, he was a tough guy playing for Peterborough in the OHL, and but he was not expecting. He was 100% sure it was a buddy of his, and so he told him to F off. So Bill Waters called him back, and he said, "Sean, this really is Bill Waters." And he said, "Really?" Oops. Sorry about
How's your
that.
day going? Oh, good. Thank you. Say hi to the wife and kids.
Yeah. So that's not a great way to start, but obviously they liked your work, because October 6th, 1982. You got the gig with the Leafs. That was your first opening night, and we have some video we pulled off from our Paul Pasco puts this stuff together. Tell me, where did the Holy Mackinac originate? Did that come before?
Look at that picture.
Yeah.
You know, well, Joey, as I mentioned, my dad passed away just before I went into high school, but he was an avid sports fan, a huge Leaf fan, and a tremendous Toronto Maple Leaf fan. And I got that from him and my love of sports. And I would be sitting on my dad's lap, and we'd be watching Hockey Night in Canada. And my dad played goal for the University of Western, and so he was a goalie. I was starting out as a goalie, and we would sit, and Johnny Bauer would make a great save, and my dad would blurt out, "Holy Mackinac, what a great save by Johnny." And I never thought much about it. No, it was just his little idiosyncrasy and whatnot. And I never used it in junior hockey. I never used it in the American Hockey League. And it wasn't until Bill Waters was doing color with me, so that's at least 5 years into the NHL. And I remember it vividly because we were in the Chicago Stadium, which is still my favorite rink to have ever done a game in. and Felix Potvin made a great save. And I blurted out, "Holy Mackinac, what a save by Felix Potvin." And I may not have ever used it again. I don't know. But I looked over and Wilbur was on the floor laughing. And I thought, you know what? And here's this idea that I keep telling, prospective broadcasters. Enjoy your personality. If you can do stuff. So when I got him to react like that, I said, what the hell? Why don't we use it again? And so we did, and we didn't do it a lot. It wasn't something that I planned that I had to have one or two of these in a game or anything. But it sort of caught on. People seemed to like it, so I kept doing it. And then to add to it a little bit, I suppose, my son Sean, who just celebrated his 32nd birthday yesterday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Old, thank you. When he was a year old, he had leukemia. And we were scared to death that we were going to lose him. We didn't know anything about it, but the great people at the Hospital for Sick Kids coached us through it and got him through it. And so I hooked up with the union UFCW, who had a big campaign across Canada with all of their outlets raising funds for leukemia research. And we made up Holy Mackinac t-shirts and we sold those. So Twitter is a wonderful thing. And people keep sending them pictures of these ratty old looking t-shirts now that have Holy Mackinac across them. But that's where it started. And we've kind of incorporated it as we go on. There was a couple of seasons here just past when the Leafs weren't very good that I probably didn't use it at all. But it's been a little more active these last couple of years, and certainly looking forward to maybe having a few in this postseason with Matthews and Marner and Tavares and company ready to go.
Oh, no doubt about it. But you know what? It does come out. It comes so naturally. It just flows, and it's just I'd be disappointed if I listened to a broadcast and the Holy Mackinac didn't come out at some point. But it's brilliant, and it's a lot of people are asking me about. Ask more Holy Mackinac, of course. Now, we do have some video from the old days. Vic, if we can roll some of those clips, we want to watch some of this stuff.
The game! Far side. Hainsey keeps it in. Tried to get it in front of the net. A backhand scores! Mitchell Marner! And the Maple Leafs are not going to have a goalie interference on this one. 2-1 Toronto. Bruins back. Great save by Brown. Cleared by Kapanen down the ice. Holy Mackinac, Connor Brown. That leprechaun is flying out there. Krug near side. Pass to the other side. Across comes Anderson to make a save on Krejci. Krug shooting. Anderson has it underneath him. Holy Mackinac, it is an amazing bit of work as Marner escapes the penalty box. Long shot, blockered. There goes Rask to the bench. Empty net. Leafs get it out in center. To the line. Here's Plekanec. Scores! We're going to...
So there you go. That's just that wasn't old action. That was new action. Obviously,
you wouldn't believe, Joey, that I'm the poster child for Valium, would you?
Well, Joe, you get excited about your job, and that you talk about that Holy Mackinac thing, and it's those are the things that people remember about you. When I started doing my sports coming up, and I remember Lloyd Robertson. He said, "Joe, I love that," because you remember Lloyd, his sign-off was,
"Yes,
that's the way it's been for this April 29th, April 30th, 2022. For all of us here at CTV News, I'm Lloyd Robertson. Good night." He had his sign-off was, and that's what he said. That's what people are going to remember you by, and that's
right.
The thing, eh?
Yep.
You got to have your shtick.
Yeah, but it has to come natural.
Right.
It really can't be something contrived, I don't think, Joey, because then it sounds that way. It just happened, and then, hey, people like, all right, well, I'll keep doing it. But it's not like, okay, I have to have something. What can I do? I mean, that's going to sound contrived. And again, that's something that I strongly disagree with. But that's some people are bound and determined to do that, I suppose. But I really think that it has to be something spontaneous.
What would you say was going back? I mean, you go back as far as one, but did you ever have that call that you wanted back? What was the most embarrassing call you ever made?
Well, unfortunately, it's been recently because we're stuck now with COVID and the new way of doing things of not traveling and doing games off monitors. And it's so much more difficult to do because you don't see the full spectrum of what you're trying to broadcast. And, um, we there was a goal the other night where there was a pass across from the left hash marks to the right hand side where Austin Matthews is always there, left handed shot, one timer. And as the puck came across, I saw an A on the jersey and a 4. And the goal was scored. Man, it was Austin Matthews
Ah,
until it was
right.
Morgan Riley. And it was the big one of the big Austin Matthews goals where I'm going blah, 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 blah. Oh, excuse me, no, that was Morgan Riley. I mean, and you hate something like that to happen, but unfortunately we're in a whole different way of doing things. I guess I'm too old school. I don't agree with it, but that's what we are stuck with. And we'll continue doing it, I guess, until such time. But that's frustrating. And the other night we had a technical glitch where they gave us a locked wide angle shot from Florida from the corner of the arena. So you saw the entire rink and the players were little wee sticks and it was locked. And so you saw everybody go up that way and then 10 people coming back this way, some with colored jerseys on, the Leafs with what, but you had no idea who it was and you couldn't see the puck. Didn't know who had the puck. And so the technicians are desperately trying to do things. So I'm trying to do what you do. You're filling, right? You're trying to, and all of a sudden then they press a button and up comes a soccer game. So now I'm broadcasting a soccer game. I don't even know who was playing, but the green guys looked good. And then we finally got the feedback that we were. So you're really at the whim of what's going on and the technical stuff that goes on. But it's you don't know what to do. I mean, I think in future I'm just going to say, don't adjust your sets. We got technical difficulties, but there's not a hell of a lot I can do about it.
No, there isn't. I can't remember who was, but everybody makes those calls when when stuff happens. But not, I can't remember what's the name of the guy who does the Yankees broadcast. The other day
Oh, but
he
home
did a
run the
call.
other day. Yeah,
Yeah, it was, yeah.
John.
Aaron Judge. I think it was Aaron Judge. Who was it?
Oh, what is his
Michael
name?
K. Vic says Michael K.
That's right. Yes. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And you feel bad for them.
Yeah, right.
I mean, these things happen and whatnot, and you
Yeah.
misidentify people that you wish you hadn't, but you can only do your best and do what you can. I'll tell you one story though, Joey.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
This happened in junior hockey. I was doing the game by myself, right? So I'm all by my little old lonesome in this booth, and no technician. I set it up all myself. And there's the Sudbury Wolves are on a power play, and shot from the point is blocked. Our defenseman falls down. The Peterborough Pete has a breakaway from their blue line. When he got to center, I realized I had the wrong guy, so I passed the puck to the right guy. And then I hoped like hell that he missed because I didn't know how I would explain. How could they not have got that assist? It was right there. That's the magic of radio.
Wow, God, that is for sure. I remember hearing stories about guys in the day that the station they couldn't get to the game in time or something like that, and they'd make up they're doing a baseball call and they'd crack their pen on their there's a hit, and they're making stuff up and they try to call a game by using the box score. Okay, look, they gotta.
Oh, sure.
And they,
I may have got play-by-play from my dad, and I'll tell you why. My grandfather was a telegraph operator for the CPR, and actually he went in and got the job because he said he would work for less money than Brian McFarland's dad. A little connection, and so Brian McFarland's dad quit, and then he went on to write all of the Hardy Boy mystery books. So probably a
right.
good. But my dad would go to his father, and when the Sudbury Wolves were playing out of town, they would, on the telegraph, they would get sort of a play-by-play of what was going on.
Yeah.
So and so scores at whatever
Yeah.
time. And my dad would run the information down to the local establishment where all of the
Yeah.
guys were hanging around having beverages, and he would read the play-by-play about, who scored and all of this sort of stuff. So maybe that's where I got it from.
Came by it naturally, and that's quite a connection to Brian McFarland's dad, who wrote the Hardy Boy books
Oh yeah,
under the pseudonym.
McFarland's really upset at our family for
Yeah.
gouging down the amount of money that my grandfather would accept to do the same job. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Your grandfather played a role in that. Yeah. I think it worked out okay. I don't think they're complaining at all. We saw a little bit of Jimmy Ralph there. You've worked with some real characters over the year. Bill Waters, Harry Neal, Jimmy Ralph. Tell us about. Let's start with Waters. What do you remember about working with Bill? Since Jimmy's there, let's talk about Jimmy.
Yep. Okay. You're right. I've been really blessed. And the best part about the associations I've had with the people that you mentioned and others is that they're very knowledgeable about the sport. Very knowledgeable. But the best part, I think, is that all of them have had a self-effacing sense of humor, enjoyed the fun part of the sport. Jimmy Ralph is obviously the Bob Uecker of hockey, the all-time minor league goalie that never got a chance to play in the NHL, and yet his self-effacing style of humor just makes our broadcast. It really does. And we're also I've been blessed too this way too, Joe, is that if either of us makes a mistake, God don't pave over it. We just jump all over each other, right? And just and good naturedly get it done. And no one's feelings are hurt. No, there's no animosity or anything of that nature. But that's been just terrific. Harry Neal was exactly the same. I did a lot of games with Harry. We're dear friends. We talk at least twice a week. And the thing with Harry was that he spent a lot of time reading and loved to read. And he would read these books, quotes, the famous quotes from whatever. But it had absolutely nothing to do with hockey. But Harry wanted to get it into the game somehow. So it was sort of like playing volleyball. He wanted to me to throw the ball up so he could spike it with his one-liner. So he would oftentimes ask me, "Okay, you got to ask me about Roger Nielsen's tie tonight." Okay, so I mean, we'd never talk about it normally, but Harry had a line that he wanted to get in, and it had something to do with dress or whatever. So, but the best one, the absolute best one, we're in New Jersey as they opened up the new Prudential Center. We might have been the second game in the new rink, right in downtown picturesque Newark, New Jersey. And Harry says to me, "You got to ask me about the building." All right. So first stoppage, I asked him, I said, "What do you think of the new building, the Prudential Center right here in downtown Newark, New Jersey, Harry?" "Oh, unbelievable," he says. "It's just unbelievable." He said, "The amenities for the fans are second to none. Great sight lines, wonderful building." He said, "The best part about it is that the players were practice. They just drive here. They can walk from their regular dressing room just to the practice rink that is attached to the building." And then came the zinger. And he says, "And Joe, It's the only arena in the National Hockey League with a shot clock both inside and outside the building. And I lost it. We couldn't get it back. I was howling. And you know, when you got the headset on, the truck is in one ear, and Mark Askin would open his key to try and talk to me. And all you could hear was the truck in complete state of disruption and howling laughter. So anyway, we went 2 or 3 minutes. I couldn't get it back. I'm giggling and laughing like a hyena. And finally we do. At the end of the period, there's a knock on the door. Could I speak with Mr. Neal, please? Seems that the New Jersey Devils broadcast was not done that night, and our show was going through the building. And Lou Lamorello didn't find the line as funny as I did. And so he wanted to talk to Mr. Neal. That's probably one of the reasons we got kicked off the charter when Lou came here.
So Lou held the Reds, did he? Yeah.
Well, I don't know. No, but Lou didn't have the broadcasters travel in New Jersey. The happiest people in the world is when he came to Toronto, were the broadcasters for the Devils, because they got on the charter to get to fly around with the team.
Well, you know, what are the odds that you guys are going to be on that one broadcast that the Devils are picking up, and here he comes up with that line.
Yeah. Oh, that was priceless. Absolutely priceless.
Well, I mean, yeah, and I mean, be teamed up with some great guys. I mean, Bill's a walking encyclopedia. You know, Neil's funny, as funny as they come, dry, and Jimmy, same thing. Like, Jimmy is hilarious. I mean, his stand up is second to none. I mean,
he really is the Bob Uecker of hockey. He really is.
Yeah,
and Wilbur was a walking encyclopedia. He really was. I mean, he has a photographic memory. And you could sit in a bar with Wilbur and win money before we had cell phones and Google and everything else. And someone would say, "Yeah, the '82 draft. Who did the St. Louis Blues take in the second round?" And Wilbur, the Pentium processor would start to whiz and smoke would start coming out his ears. And he'd go, "Oh, yeah, okay, that was the Wickenheiser draft." And so they took that, and he'd come up with the name. Now, none of us could sit there and say, that's wrong, because we didn't.
Yeah, fact check.
But you'd go the next day. Jesus, he's right.
Yeah, he's something else. Yeah, quite quality. Now, listen, you've had some good guys to work with, but you've won multiple awards, including the George Gross Award in 2013. And we actually have a clip from that. Vic, if you can roll that.
There's two things you can't teach in broadcasting. One is a great set of pipes, which Joe has in abundance, and passion.
You know, he's never taken no for an answer, and he's worked his way from Sudbury doing junior hockey games to basketball games, then working in Nova Scotia, then coming here to Toronto. And just to see, you know, all the hard work that he's put in has finally paid off for him.
Present the 2013 Sports Media Canada George Gross Award for Outstanding Sports Broadcasting to Joe Bowen.
And how did that feel to receive the award from Johnny?
I'm just going to say that, Joey. We lost him and Nancy this past year. She just passed away. But John Bauer was my idol, and my three biggest idols in sport: John Bauer, Willie Mays, excuse me, and Bart Starr. And I've met two of them. I'd never met Bart Starr, but the thing about John Bauer was that he was better than you could possibly have ever expected. I'll never forget the very first time that I met him was after my dad had passed away. Jimmy Hines, a friend of my father's, brought my mom and I to my very first NHL game. And because Jimmy was very good friends with George Armstrong and was, quote unquote, George's financial advisor before there were agents, right. I was brought in for a tour of the dressing room and got to meet all of the 1966 Toronto Maple Leafs. And when I shook John's hand, I couldn't talk. I mean, it was just stargazing. And then the next time I met John was when I was doing Wolves games, and we got to Oshawa, and the fellow who was doing color with me had arranged for an interview. He said, I got somebody to come up to talk with you during the first period intermission. I said, oh, who's that? He said, Johnny Bower. I said, get it. And he was there scouting. He came up, and that's when I really got a chance to talk with him. And of course, when I came to Toronto, he was one of the very first people to congratulate me, and a really close friendship blossomed from that point with he and his family and John Jr. and John Jr. And everything. And so a very, very special man, and someone who is very, very near and dear to my heart. And when he passed, I was so very honored that the family asked that I MC the funeral service that they had at the Air Canada Centre at that time. It meant a great deal to me, and I still get choked up thinking about him because of what a tremendous individual he was. I mean, you hear of athletes that, all right, I'll do a card signing and I'm going to be here for 15 minutes, and by God, when that clock strikes 15, they're gone. John will sit there, and if the line went out and around the building, he wouldn't leave until everyone got an autograph or at least a moment with John Bower. And too many, I think many athletes should take a little note from that.
A friend of Robin, he good friend of Johnny's as well, took Johnny to PEI, his place in PEI, and I'm pretty sure he signed the autograph of every person in town. A signed autograph for every person in town. They were lined up forever, and he signed them all.
I also think, Joe, John Bower has every good-looking woman anywhere in Canada has probably got a picture with John Bauer.
He never said no. But he never said no to anybody.
Much to the chagrin of Nancy, who used to get on his case a little bit, but Johnny was so good to all of the fans. It really was, and really outgoing.
Yeah, amazing. And like you said, he just a quality individual, humble, and just has time for everybody. And nobody was ever, he was never too good for anybody. And just, and like you said, there's a lot of athletes who could take that.
He's in a different Hall of Fame. He really is.
For sure. So after a couple years after the George Gross Award, you were honored for reaching the 3,000 game mark. That puts you in very select company. What was it like to reach that number, 3,000?
You mentioned Paul Patsko, who's helping you with some of these videos and whatnot. We were getting close to that, and I wondered. I said to myself, "Gosh, I've been here a while, and 3,000 is a pretty substantial number. So I wonder how many games Foster Hewitt did." And God bless Paul, but he went through all of the. Back in the day, there used to be in the newspaper, not TV listings, but radio listing, right? What was on the radio stations that night? Because everybody wanted to, the Arthur Godfrey show was going to be on, or something else was going, and then the hockey game. So he went back to try and figure out how many games were broadcast to start with, and how many games Foster would have done. And he came up with something that it was like 2,600 games that Foster would have done. And I thought, gosh, I'm not here as long as he was, but back in those days they would do one game a week, right? It was Saturday night, hockey night in Canada was on the radio, so they didn't broadcast every game, and so that was I was really quite humbled by that, to think, my gosh, I've been in his chair and done more games than he did when we got to that mark at 3,000. So that was very humbling and gratifying, obviously, that I was able to stuck around because I kind of thought after what I had said to Led and Bramson, I might have got the one-day audition and then got fired the next day.
Well, it's interesting you bring up Foster Hewitt because, the following 2018, you were honored by the Hockey Hall of Fame with the Foster Hewitt Award for excellence in broadcasting. There aren't a lot of people, Joe, that get to put on that Hall of Fame blazer. How'd that feel for the kid from Sudbury?
Well, that's the penultimate, I guess, Joey, without any question. It was extremely gratifying, and especially with people that have gone before that have won that award. And Foster Hewitt, obviously, it's named after Danny Gallivan, Dan Kelly. We talked about Harry Neal, and all of the people that have gone before. Rene Doucette, Dick Irvin, just a who's who of broadcasting. And I tend to think that if you can hang around long enough, they have to put you somewhere. And so that's probably what did it. But, I've enjoyed every minute. Every time I go to the rink early when there's no one around, and if I have a quiet moment and I'll sit down and I just say to myself, how fortunate you are to be doing this and for doing it for this team, for this fan base, and for this long. The last real job I had was before I got the summer job at CKSO. I was 5,000 feet underground at International Nickel Hard Rock Mining in Sudbury, and didn't like that very much, and was glad that I spent a little more time on my studies to make sure I didn't have to go back to that. But it's very gratifying. It's humbling. I have 2 grandkids now that I can kind of take to the Hockey Hall of Fame and say, hey, there's Grandpa up there. He's which is kind of neat. Grandpa couldn't play worth a damn, but they stuck him somewhere that's really nice anyway.
Oh, you could play a little bit. I could vouch for that. A long way from CKSO, that's for sure. No doubt about that. So let's talk about this year's team. I'm sure you've had a lot of years where you thought, this is a Leafs team that can go a long way, if not all the way. How does this team compare to those previous teams that, especially the last few years when they haven't got a chance, they haven't got out of the first round? What separates this team from those teams?
There's no question this group is the most talented that I've ever been associated with. 93 with Gilmore and company was a gritty group that pushed and battled through everything, and then unfortunately with a bad call in LA ends up losing to the LA Kings and don't get to the Stanley Cup final. Matt Sundin and the group that Pat Quinn put together was a real talented group as well, but we ran into all kinds of injuries and then ended up getting upset by the Carolina Hurricanes. So those are the 2 teams previous to this group that I really thought had a chance to go into the Stanley Cup final. And this team is as talented. They've added the physicality that I think was lacking in a couple of teams previous to this. And I've often said, and I've been talking Leaf fans off the ledge here for the last number of months, and you can probably vouch for this as much as anyone too, that mental toughness, which is really required in this postseason, it's a grind. It is a physical grind, whether it's a physical game where there's a lot of banging and bashing, or just every other day you have to have your best going. So it's that mental toughness that pushes teams through series and on to Stanley Cup playoffs. And many teams don't have it happen until something drastic happens. And last year's loss to the Montreal Canadiens, I think, was as bitter a pill as anybody could swallow. Now, yeah, they've had their Boston situations and they had the Columbus one, but this was really something that was heavily favored and didn't do it. But you think of some of the teams that have gone through that. The New York Islanders with Bossy and Trottier and company. They lost to Toronto before they got started. Lanny McDonald scoring in overtime in Game 7. The Edmonton Oilers with Gretzky and company and all of their cups that they won. They got doused by the Los Angeles Kings in the miracle on Manchester Street when they blew a huge lead in the third period. And you think, whoa, the Tampa Bay Lightning are two-time Stanley Cup champions. Yeah, they won the President's Trophy as the best team in the league and got swept in 4 straight. So that mental toughness is not something that a coach can coach or a textbook can teach. It has to be stuffed down your collective throats. And by collective, I mean the core. The core of the team has to have this happen to them. Now, there's no guarantees. There never is. And now the Leafs are going to be in against a 2-time Stanley Cup champion. And the last time that there was back-to-back-to-back was back in the 80s. So this is it's a tough chore for them to maintain that mental toughness. And I'm speaking about the Tampa Bay Lightning. But it's something that the Maple Leafs have to draw upon. And that is the bitter disappointment from a year ago, the mental toughness. And if they get past one round, then I think it's just going to be like having a load of stone taken off your shoulders, because there will be obviously a great deal of pressure from this community, the fan base, the management, everybody, and more importantly, the collective group inside that dressing room putting pressure on one another. But hopefully it will be positive reinforcement and something that they can get through and get by. And if they do, then let's see what happens after that.
Yeah, you make an excellent point. Like we had Jimmy Devellano on the show, and he talked about the fact that the Islanders needed to lose to the Leafs. The Red Wings needed to have those disappointments before they could become the dynasty that they became. And it's part of the growth process. It's very painful, but it's part of that process. You got a chance to call make a call just recently this past week that you have never get a chance to make before, and that was Austin Matthews' big night. Let's have a listen.
High and wide. Matthews trying to corral it to keep it in. Just did. Top of the circle. Scores! Austin Matthews, number 60.
How cool is that?
You know what? It's been a thrill. I've called every one of this young man's goals. And his opening night was sort of so-so. I don't think people remember it that much. And you know, one of the things I have to thank Lou Lamoriello for, Joey, is this. On that opening night, he had kicked us off the charter, so we weren't flying with the team, who would leave right after the game and fly home. Well, we couldn't. So we, after the game, we went back to our hotel and went down to the bar, which is not uncommon. And who do we meet in the bar but Austin Matthews' parents? And the technology that was now available, I phoned the radio station and said, could you please email me the 4 clips of his 4 goals, because I would like to give them to his parents. Well, we sat in the bar and listened to the 4 calls that I made on Austin Matthews' opening night. And they were in tears, and they were so appreciative. And it was such a special moment to spend with the people who had sacrificed so much for a young man's career. And the older that you get, one of the great things that had been instituted over the years has been the father's trips, where you got to meet the guys who got up at 6 a.m. to get Junior to the rink, and temperatures that were awful and whatnot, and the sacrifices that families make for these kids. And you realize when you meet the child, the athlete, you realize after meeting the parents why they are like they are. Humble, hardworking, diligent, goal-oriented. Everything that you can think about an athlete comes from the upbringing. And it was really a very special moment. And the 60 goals, absolutely. I mean, I thought he would score 60, but I did Rick Vives 3 of his 50-goal seasons. And one of the great things about this year and all of these records and all of these things that Matthews has done and the team has done, some wonderful names from the past are getting recognized again, as they should. And I firmly believe that Rick Vive's number should be up in the rafters at Scotiabank Arena as well. But it was great to see that as it's being encompassed into this new season. And what a talent. Austin Matthews is just an amazing talent. And the drive that he has for improving himself as an athlete, as a human being, as a leader, as a teammate, can do nothing but enhance how the Maple Leafs are going to do, not only this year, but in seasons to come. He is what you see is what you get. He is a tremendous, tremendous young man, and his parents are very proud of him, as well they should, and we should be very proud of his parents because they did a wonderful job raising him.
Another thing about Austin too is he's playing a more physical game this year. He's playing a tougher game. He's he did get that suspension for that cross check, but that cross check said to me and to other fans, "You're not messing with me anime. I'm not just going to stand here and take crap."
That sent a message. It sure did, and good for him.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been on a bit of a campaign about how he doesn't draw penalties. Well, he's too big. He doesn't fall down. Well, I don't care. He's getting slashed and hacked and everything else. Meanwhile, Connor McDavid had like 48 or 50 some odd penalties drawn on him. And Austin Matthews was 358th down the list. And you went, he has the puck a lot. And we don't get penalties drawn on him. That's somewhat bizarre. But then he's not the guy that whines, right? You don't hear him whining about this, that, and anything else. And you don't see him whining on the ice. And Lord knows there's enough whiners on the ice that you could see. And our very good friend Wayne Gretzky was one of the great whiners of our time when he was playing.
You can't do that to me. You can't do that to me.
No.
So they're a great group of kids. And, my wife is a huge Leafs fan. She's fallen in love with this team. Just a fun group of kids. They're fun to watch, and I can see them attracting a lot of new fans to this team. I want to talk about you haven't got a chance to call a championship for the Leafs yet, maybe this year, but you did get a chance to call some championships for the Toronto Rock. And here's a Joe Bowen classic from the 2000 final against Rochester.
Toth from outside. Doyle is up high and gets the ball. Doyle looking back to Toth. Shot and scores! With 1 second left! 1 second left! Second left, fires his hat trick. It's 14-13 Toronto.
What a moment that was. How cool is that?
Last game played at the Grand Old Lady on Carlton Street. And I win a lot of money in bars, Joe, by asking people who scored the last goal at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't that Bob Probst? No. It was Caleb Toth. You know what? Bill Waters and his Aurelia Mafia group that bought the Rock and brought them. I'll never forget Mark Askin and myself and Paul Hendrick. He asked us if we would do the games, and Molestar, who we worked for doing TV, was in on the package deal as well. And I, to be honest with you, had never obviously broadcast a lacrosse game and hadn't seen one, really, a pro league one. Never played it in high school or anything of that nature. So Wilbur got us the tape of the NLL final from the year before, and I think we were in Florida in a hotel room playing this thing. And I went, oh my God, this sport is ridiculous. And so we started doing these games, and fortunately I had Brian Shanahan, Brendan's brother, doing color with me, and literally teaching me the game. Joe, it's not a racket, it's a stick. Okay, but fell in love with it, and the players fell in love with our coverage because this was the first time that it was on a national program or being televised at all. And of course, the Gardens was just jammed, and the atmosphere was just terrific. And what kind of a sport would let Paul Hendrick walk out during a TV timeout and talk to the damn goalie in the middle of the game? There's Whipper Watson talking with Paul. I'm going, who would do that? But they loved the coverage. The coverage really built a following, and we had a lot of fun. After that game, I had to jump on the subway and roar down to the Air Canada Centre because the Leafs had a playoff game that night too. I was double dipping, which was nice.
Well, what a job too. Oh my God, that's fantastic. And good on Paul for having the cojones to go right onto the floor and talk to Whipper.
On the floor, walking around, talking to whoever he wanted to, and they loved it. They loved it. Yeah, they loved the notoriety and the publicity and everything else.
Yeah, it's a great game. It really is, for sure. I want to talk before we go about the kids in the neighborhood. You were at a function last summer when Rod Black's son Tyler was drafted by the Brewers in the first round. Now, we had Rod and Ken on the show recently, Ken Shaw, right after that happened. Let's first look at the clip, and then I want to get you to comment on it.
Here's some of the carnage left over behind me there. That was a late night with my boys and my daughter and my family and our friends. It was special, really cool.
Well, I noticed that we have Vic found a tweet from Joe Bowen that Joe Bowen posted last night of that nice socially distanced party, you guys.
Yeah, Joe.
Here we go. So here's the announcement.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
Yeah, baby.
Oh yeah. Well, we were all vaccinated, so that's good.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, and you know what? This is special times call for special celebrations, and let's face it. I mean, your son is drafted, well, really in the first round, and again, the compensatory picks in the first round, 33rd overall, highest drafted Canadian, and this is phenomenal. Phenomenal, Joe. What was it? Phenomenal.
It really was. My son David and Tyler played hockey a little bit together, but played baseball all the way through, from T-ball right up until Pee-wee. And because I really had the summers off and loved playing baseball myself, I coached all of their teams. I coached all of my 4 boys. And one of the great things, Bob Nicholson, who's with the Wizard Foundation and does a big draft for Special Olympics and very much, was in the front office of the Toronto Blue Jays, was vice president with Paul Beeston back in the late 80s. And I was doing this draft for him, and he said, Joe, what can we do, for you for doing this? I said, you know what, when you come back from Dunedin one of these years, put one of those Jugs pitching machines in a bag. Laughingly. Well, don't they do it? And it's the best toy I ever got, because we would take that pitching machine down to Crosby Park in Unionville, plug it in, and Tyler and David would bring their buddies or teammates or whatever, and we would have batting practice, and we would hit balls. And then we would play a little game called Danish Rounders that my grade 6 teacher, Mr. Anderson, taught us to play, where you could only needed 10 kids maybe to play, and the pitching machine, and I was the pitcher in a circle, and you had to throw the ball to me, and if the runners didn't have their foot on a base, they were out. And if you ended up being 3 out and you had 4 batters, then the last guy had to hit a home run to keep the inning going. But it moved the game, but everybody got to hit, and everybody did. The fright, I suppose, of having someone throw the ball at you wasn't there, because this machine was grooving the ball. And Tyler Black fell in love with baseball and literally he was the guy that wanted to play baseball all the time. And so he played shortstop. My son David played second base. We had some really good teams. We didn't win every tournament. We won a few, but one of the things I had, and it was Tyler Black that got us there. I got T-shirts made for everybody that we play Sundays. We always got to Sunday. Didn't always end up playing late in the afternoon on Sunday, but we always got to Sunday. And he was a real special talent, and then went on to play with the junior teams around here, and then getting a scholarship, and then very big day being drafted by the Milwaukee Brewers. So we're really looking forward to him. Then my son David and his teammates, who there was a core of about 5 or 6 guys that were always together, are keeping tabs on him as he goes through the minors.
No doubt about it. Next big party is when Tyler makes it to the big leagues.
Oh, yeah, we're going to have to get the
Joe,
motor home and head down for that. That's for sure.
Yeah. Now, listen, I want to thank you for being on the show. This has been fantastic. It's everything I hoped it would be, my friend. I know you do a lot of charity work. You do a lot of great things in the game and around it. Absolute pleasure having you on. And hopefully we'll get a call from Joe Bowen this summer announcing the Stanley Cup champion, Toronto Maple Leafs.
Can you imagine that, Joey? If it happens, the parade will start in Timmins.
It will be unbelievable. We thought the Jays was big. We thought the Raptors was big. When the Leafs win, it's going to be unbelievable.
Sure will. And it'll happen.
All right. Thanks for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure, Joe. And good luck this summer. We'll see you soon.
Thanks Joey. Buddy. Thank you very much. Good seeing you.
Good seeing you. More sports when we come back.
More Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up after the break.
We're going to drive deep to center field. Hicks on the run, out the truck, at the wall, and it is gone. Swinging a drive, deep left field. Get up, ball, get out of here, and gone. Check that. He's had 1 4-hit game, and Vladdy has done it again. Way back into the second deck.
Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.
Hey, this is Tommy Graisley, aka Tommy Gunn. I love 2 things, music and sports. And when I want sports, I go to the Joe Tilley Show. He gives me everything I want. It's a great show. Check it out for yourself. Joe Tilley Sports, coming up.
Good night. When I'm working out, I like to wear my Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show t-shirt. It makes me feel handsome and strong. If you want a t-shirt, support the show, click on the link below. Now, back to my workout. 1,761, 1,762, 1,763, 1,764. Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA. Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAOnline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to HPIBet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's HPIBet.com. Slow play. It's a slippery slope. First you go looking for that lost ball, and then everything goes sideways. There are a lot of golfers on the course. Make certain of your point of entry, look quickly, and move on. Remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Find anything, Bob?
Not yet.
Visit moregolf.ca today. You'll find everything a golfer could need, from balls, gloves, and clubs to custom fitting opportunities and training gear. Go to moregolf.ca and get $20 off your first purchase of $100 or more. Just enter the promo code JTSports.
Yes, it's time for my Coastal Swiss pick of the week. Last week I went to Mohawk for Thursday night's second race, Ontario's sired spring series for 3-year-old fillies. I took better double flip, and the betting public agreed. She went off as a favorite, but she got boxed in along the rail, never found any room. Wildcat Star with Trevor Henry driving for Tim Chapman rung up her fourth straight win. The 6-3 exact returned $33.20. This week, I'm going back to Mohawk for Monday night's preferred trot, a purse of $36,000. Oni Hall owned the field last time out, but I'm taking a look at the number 6 horse, Dream Nation, driven by Scott Young, who waited a tad too long last week, but I think she's got the ability to win at this level. I also like this 167 Exacta box. Time to get that bankroll back up there. For all the racing updates, visit COSA TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options. And here we go.
This is the Excellent Sports Adventure, brought to you by Lycom.
Now, statistically speaking, this is the best Maple Leafs team that we've seen. Now let's see what they can do in the real season. The Lightning will be no soft touch. Obviously, the Bolts are the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions with an incredible goaltender. But they've looked pretty average down the stretch, and they might be a tad tired after going the distance in back-to-back years. The Leafs will be ready. Jack Campbell will rise to the occasion, and home ice will be the difference. I like the Buds to bury the Bolts in a very difficult 7 games. No team has ever rallied from 3-0 down in a series in the NBA. Still, the Raptors gave it a shot. They rallied to win a pair of games to make it interesting, but in the end, losing Scotty Barnes hurt. What a year for Barnes, the NBA's top rookie. But that game 3 collapse by the Raps was just too much to overcome. And when Fred VanVleet was knocked out of the series, well, that was just too much to ask for the Dinos. But give Joel Embiid and company credit. They rose to the occasion. The Raps did not, but they will be back. The Blue Jays bullpen has been excellent so far, and so has their starting pitching. What a blessing Alek Manoah has been, allowing 3 harmless hits in his last start as the Bluebirds took 3 out of 4 from the rival Red Sox. The 24-year-old right-hander is a perfect 4-0 this season. Dating back to last year when he joined the big club, the Jays have gone 20-4 in games that Manoah has started. They've also won their last 12 Manoah starts. That ties a club record held by Jimmy Key and Jay Happ.
The other guy on the other side is pretty good. He's doing pretty good, great arm. And so I knew it was going to be a close game. And so I knew there wasn't going to be any room for error. But, you know, Manoah does what Manoah has been doing. I believe he's won his 8 last starts or something. So, I mean, he's been great. So I feel so good when he's on the mound that I wasn't going to get any. That was his game. There was nobody warming up. Simber there at the end a little bit, but that was his game to go 7 innings, and he did great. He's fun to watch. He believes in himself. He's got it, you know, and he's a good teammate too. He's pulling for his teammates. Let's go, and the guys are hitting and he's yelling from the bench. All right, hit it. It's talking the whole game.
There's a big pro boxing show coming up May 7th at Red Owl Performance Center in Brampton. Zolt Duranier faces Flavio Michel for the vacant Canadian welterweight title. Scarborough's Justin Gandoza puts his 14-0 record on the line. Bonnie Hunter and Methuselah Mahindis will also fight on that card. The show will air live on Buzz TV. Well, John Mechie heard his name called in the NFL draft on day 2. The Brampton native started at wide receiver for the Alabama Crimson Tide. He was picked 44th overall by the Houston Texans. And I just happened to be in Vegas on draft day and caught up with a Cowboys fan.
All right, we are. It's draft day in the NFL. I'm here with G, and obviously, G, you're a Cowboys fan. What do the Cowboys need in this big draft we got coming up here?
What the Cowboys need to do is they need to win. That's the first thing they need to do, is they need to win. And the second thing they need to do is they need to win. And the third thing they need to do, this is very great. They need to win.
You know what the Cowboys needed to do?
They need to win.
They need to win. All right, thanks, G.
Thank you.
Yes, they need to win. Riley Wheeldon captured the final Canadian Tour qualifying tournament in Courtenay, BC. The 31-year-old Canuck won by 5 shots going away. Now here's the shot of the week.
God damn it.
4! All right, here's Penclair. This is the
2-back hole.
This is the tin cup hole. A 2-buck.
She has to fly the trees.
Just to fly the
Just
trees,
brilliant
clear the water, and land it on the green. Here we go.
Oh.
Well, she could go under the trees too. That's another way.
People would have gone for it, but I thought I'd lay up.
God damn it.
4! Today's environmental tip: keep your drinks in reusable containers. Instead of buying individually packaged drinks, consider buying a bulk container for your favorite beverage. And buy a reusable bottle. Not only will this help the environment, but it will also help you save money. Rycom, passionate people who turn complicated business problems into simplified technology solutions for public and private sector real estate, properties, portfolios, and enterprise customers. Optimize and future-proof smart buildings from the ground up. The latest in fault locating, base building network design, managed services, cybersecurity, data analytics. Our fault detection will support all smart strategies, define projected outcomes for capital planning, and reduce environmental impact. Rycom, smart protection solutions. At Rycom, we're building a path to a smart and environmentally friendly future. We want to thank all the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great folks. I highly recommend them all. A reminder, the show is also available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcast, and Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network and Zingo TV. Also, please like and subscribe to the show on YouTube. It's free. All of our past great shows and clips are on there. Once again, thanks to Joe Bowen for being on the show, and thank you for watching. Join us next week when tennis legend Daniel Nestor drops by. We'll see you then. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show is brought to you by
Grind-driven insurance planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678.
Do you want to buy or sell a home? Could 31 years of real estate experience help you? Why not speak to an amazing team that loves to overpromise and overdeliver?
Aldo has a tremendous team of experts on staff. They are committed to making your next real estate transaction smooth and comfortable. Call 416-GET-ALDO or visit getaldo.com. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Yeah, that was good, Dave. Vic, I just reading your line.